The Bedwyr is one of the tankiest titans in the entire game, being able to eat tens of millions of damage due to it having the second longest absorber shield duration in the entire game. This is a completely extensive guide on how to build and play your Bedwyr, covering every single aspect including abilities, weapons, playstyle, and much more, so you can easily get the most value out of your Bedwyr. For its weapons, I'll only cover the non-meta choices that work well with it at the time of recording this guide, including its signature weapons. But I'll also give general recommendations based on what type of weapon Bedwyr likes best. So even if I didn't mention ones you were hoping to see, or the top meta weapons whenever you're watching, you can get an idea of what works best with it. And if any information is outdated and I haven't gotten around to making an updated Bedwyr guide yet, or you just had any questions in general, feel free to leave a comment and ask. I do try my best to respond to any questions you might have, so please don't hesitate to leave one. The Bedwyr showcased in this guide will be level 150 with complete investment. Titans are a much bigger investment than a robot and benefit from every single level that gets added. And I want you to know with absolute certainty how good Bedwyr is in real battles and whether it's worth your investment. This guide is targeted for players mainly in Masters and Champions League, and Bedwyr will be evaluated at a Champion League level. So if you are in a lower league, what I say can still be applied, but take the guide with a grain of salt, since some builds will perform differently in the lower leagues. And any meta gear that's in significant danger of getting nerfed at the time of recording this guide will not be specifically mentioned unless really important. So make sure to see the pinned comment for anything on metagear along with updates, extras, and post video fixes, which can be very important. So I really recommend checking it out. But with all of that out of the way, let's fly right into it. The Bedwyr was released in the 9.9.9 update as the brand new premium brawler titan after a long line of devastating damage dealer ones. Except it didn't really catch on. Its release was kind of at a bad time as it was dropped at the tail end of one of the most brutal metas of all time. Thank you, Newton and Ocho. And as soon as Newton was nerfed, Eiffel stole the spotlight, and its weapons, which were hotfixed immediately after release. And after that nerf, it was again overshadowed by the most deadly brawler titan of all time. After many more updates and the modules rework, Bedwyr's kit fits right in and is actually super balanced, which shows by it never being touched by any rebalances. Bedwyr's firepower is completely standard for brawler titans, carrying 1 alpha and 2 beta weapon slots, which is enough to comfortably brawl and is only outclassed by one other brawler titan firepower wise. Well, technically two. But what it does have over its competition is the ability to tank more than any other brawler titan due to its abilities. Bedwyr's primary ability is called Duel, and can only be activated when you are within 400 meters of your targeted enemy. When activated, a death mark of 40% is applied to that enemy, along with the taunt effect, which forces the enemy targeting system to malfunction and only be able to shoot at the bot that applied it. Both status effects last for 9 seconds, and Duel is set on a 13-second cooldown. Bedwyr's second ability is called Barrier Field, and when this one's activated, Bedwyr puts up a frontal absorber shield that blocks all types of damage. Whenever damage is done to this absorber, assuming you have a maxed out core, Bedwyr takes 35% of it and converts it into extra durability, up to 200,000. So you need to take a total of around 571,000 in order to max it out, which is super easy to do. This absorber shield lasts for 9 seconds and has a 13-second cooldown, but it can be extended by the pilot to 14 seconds, making it the longest temporary absorber in the game, only losing to Atlas's permanent ones. Bedwyr has a passive ability as well, which is a total of 3 abilities, and it's simply healing per second. With the maxed engine, this is set at 2,650 per second, which isn't terrible, and upgrading the hull gives a max of 750,000 HP. This is near the top of all titans in the game, so you do drop in with a ton of HP. You also have 220 defense points active permanently, which puts your effective HP at 2.4 million against robots. Titan weapons and certain robots' abilities / weapons bypass this defense, so your effective HP drops back down against them. Now that that's out of the way, is it actually worth it to invest into Bedwyr? Well, if you invest into it, Bedwyr is a very competent titan that can hold its ground super well against the meta, and is generally worth the investment. For Bedwyr's upgrading list, the hull is the most important thing to upgrade, followed by the core, and lastly, the engine. As for replaceability, you can replace Bedwyr with literally every single other Brawler Titan in the game. Brawler Titans specifically are actually in a really good spot balance-wise, as there isn't a single one that isn't relevant in some way, and they are all worth an investment. So before committing to Bedwyr, I'd go around and find a Brawler Titan that looks fun to play, and go right ahead and invest into them, as none will disappoint when maxed out. Bedwyr is best dropped when there is at least one other friendly Titan on the field, as Bedwyr is probably one of the best support Titans in the game. Bedwyr's entire kit screams support, but in a different way than every other support in the game. Picture two Titans rapidly draining HP off of each other, and now your teammate wins because duel activates and the enemy is forced to shoot at Bedwyr and have its damage go to nowhere, leading your teammate to get the kill. So, using duel to draw the attention of an enemy that is not shooting Bedwyr is a way better use than simply using it on someone already shooting at it. Just make sure to use it only when you have barrier field ready to activate, as taking on too much damage can still happen. Bedwyr is also different from every other support because you want to be far away from your teammate or behind cover so that the taunt effect is even more punishing, since the enemy will often not even know where you are. So you can use duel very offensively. The Bedwyr isn't really the fastest thing in the game, as it's the only Brawler Titan in the game without any sort of speed or movement ability whatsoever, so you want to be very deliberate in your movements. Saving barrier field only for encounters is also a good way to increase survivability, as using it in advance is normally unnecessary due to Bedwyr's survivability outside of its ability as well. So defensive use is the best for barrier field. You also don't want to get too overwhelmed, as having only a frontal absorber means that more than one enemy can sandwich Bedwyr and guarantee damage on it. Negative effects like EMP aren't typically a problem for Bedwyr unless they're longer than 6 seconds and you're facing another Titan. But ones like Rust, Fragility, and Crumble can be problematic, so those three are the most dangerous effects against Bedwyr, and you want to be aware of any enemy that can apply them. That's pretty much it, right? Well, I guess I have to mention the most effective counter to Bedwyr, Shield Breaker. Specifically, Titans with Shield Breaker. Currently, there are 2 Shield Breaker Titans, and both of them have the capability to completely evaporate Bedwyr off the face of the earth from incredible ranges. Although it is worth mentioning that Bersagliere needs a completely maxed pilot to do so, while the Waymaker can do it with a level 1 pilot. So target both of these Titans immediately if they're active. Bedwyr's signature pilot is Toshiro Kurosawa, and unfortunately, Bedwyr is one of the few Titans that loses immense value from not having Toshiro, as his first ability adds 5 seconds to the base 9-second shield, which makes it the longest temporary absorber in the game. His level 51 ability simply boosts HP by 10%, and his level 91 ability boosts the extra durability provided by barrier field from 200,000 to 300,000. Thankfully, these last 2 skills are not that important, and Bedwyr is not super pilot skill demanding, so you don't have to feel pressure to quickly level the pilot, and Bedwyr will work fine with a lower level pilot. Just remember that it has to be Toshiro, otherwise I wouldn't recommend using Bedwyr at all. For pilot skills, would you look at that? Deft Survivor Secondary. At 50% HP, Bedwyr reloads its barrier field ability when it's on cooldown. So as long as things don't go horrifically wrong, this is 28 seconds of guaranteed shield, which makes Deft Survivor Secondary the most important pilot skill to get for Bedwyr. Deft Survivor Primary isn't as worth it, as you can't really shoot 2 enemies at once. Mechanic, Roadhog, and Stubborn Warrior are really recommended as well, as they just add to Bedwyr's effectiveness. After these 4, any combination of Titan Slayer, Titan Master, Jaeger for weapons, although you are locked and will have to waste Memorium to change if you don't like the weapons you equip, so use Jaeger with caution. Speaking of caution, Cautious Pilot can be good as well, but don't run Roadhog anymore, as it becomes a wasted skill. Wise Opportunist for Extermination is always one I recommend, even though its in-battle use is limited. Any other pilot skill that's good for Bedwyr, like both Wonderworkers, Tough Guy, or Invulnerable Raider, should only be selected after every prior option, so only for the later levels. Every other damage skill besides Titan Slayer, and every other speed skill except for Roadhog without Cautious Pilot, is not as good for Bedwyr and is a wasted slot. If you need them ordered based on importance as you unlock the pilot's level, here's a list, but make sure not to change it if you roll onto one that's on here. For the base section of Specializations, there's an option for the Singular Reactor and Titan Armor Kit, which both provide pretty good boosts to damage and HP respectively. For Bedwyr, I would actually pick the Reactor, as it's very easy to oversaturate on HP, and it becomes better to go for damage instead. Out of the 3 tracks, Brawler is best, because it gives Bedwyr access to the Titan Repair Amplifier, and this TRA is what makes every Brawler viable, since it gives constant healing, and when you charge it up to 60 stacks, grants a great HP heal and defense mitigation immunity for 30 seconds. So all sources that previously bypassed Bedwyr's defense points no longer do that, and they have to go through its monstrous HP. And every source of defense you add from pilot skills only increases the resistance further, so this is by far the most valuable module for Bedwyr in the game. It is also easy to oversaturate on healing, and just having the TRA and a couple of pilot skills means that you will not need any more from the fix unit, and it's better to equip the anti-control for more HP and immunity to lockdown, suppression, and EMP. While attack has more utility on Bedwyr than most other Brawler Titans in the game, it's still not worth using, as a little bit more attack and quantum sensor is worse than Brawler. And whatever you do, please never ever use defense. Titan weapons are a bit different from robot weapons, as they are easier to acquire full sets of than robot weapons, and the meta Titan weapons are usually best in slot regardless of their gimmick, unless they're really specialized. They are also easier to upgrade, and you want to run whatever is meta on Bedwyr, as it will do the best with them. And if you are unsure, just ask or see the pinned comment, as it will have the current meta weapons and how good they are for it. Inferno and Pyro are Bedwyr's signature weapons, and they have 350 meters of range, splash damage, bypass both physical and energy shields, and can fire for as long as you don't overheat them. The Titan Flames are a pretty standard choice for Bedwyr, not outstanding, not bad, but comfortable. Their aiming is easier, so if you have a bit of lag, they can work around that, and are generally one of the best Titan weapons to upgrade for extermination. So if you're struggling in that game mode, getting some flamers can make your life a lot easier. Arbiter and Equalizer are 600 meter rocket type weapons that also have an overheating mechanic. So like Bedwyr Sigs, they can work well with it. They will do less damage than Inferno/Pyro at 300 meters, but they also feature a damage boost mechanic past that, and will outdamage the flames. If you choose to run these weapons, it's recommended to keep them between 30 and 100% on the overheat bar, as they reach max acceleration past 30%, and if you hit their overheat, it's very punishing, as they will enter a cooldown state and you can't use them until they hit 0 again. Argon and Oxy are 300 meter range ice rocket weapons that feature a freeze effect, which slows enemies and increases their incoming damage by 20%. Their burst DPS is good, and they have splash, so it's easier to hit enemies with them, but they are some of the weaker weapons, as once they're empty, and I would only use them if you've already leveled them up. Void and Chasm are 500 meter range kinetic based shotguns that have damage ticks while reloading. These ticks cause suppression to be applied to the enemies it hits, along with them having really good damage at higher range than most shotguns. This extra range is incredibly valuable, as Bedwyr can often struggle in closing the distance, and these are generally going to be the best options on the list, but be wary of their long reload. Evora and Veyron are 500 meter range sonic bubble guns that do 100% gray damage. They have an acceleration effect, which means they empty way quicker after a bit of firing. They do immense point blank damage, but their spread is large, so the DPS falls off the further away you are. But once you get close enough, it's pretty much over for the enemy as they melt away. Vajra and Mahavajra are 500 meter range electric ball shotguns that slow the enemy you're firing at. These ones really fall off at range because of their spread, and are generally outclassed by Void and Chasm. But once you get into close ranges, they have incredible consistent damage with a really quick reload. And that is it! Thank you so much for watching my first Titan guide ever, and I hope I kept it up to standards. This was a lot easier to work with than a full robot guide, since I don't have to cover some sections, but I will not take any more of your time, and I will see you in the next one.